Hey friends, so I'm going live because I just came back from talking to the officers. I was not at a precinct because I know that there are officers always stationed outside the UN that I pass, so I wanted to first speak to them. And it's exactly like I expected and exactly why I wasn't going to even bother. What's the point in living in a society with officers who are supposed to protect and support you who don't fully listen to you? So the first two officers I spoke to were of Asian descent or Pacific Islander descent. The last one was a white male. And there needs to be lessons on sensitivity training because my breast was squeezed. That's what happened. It was all in the span of, like I said, within 5 to 10 seconds. Never seen this guy before. And basically they told me the only way anything can happen is if I'm 100% sure what he looks like. And I told them, because I'm an honest person, I'm like, I never say I'm 100% certain about anything. You can't know that. I'm like, within 5 seconds, someone I've never seen before, I can't give a full description of that person. And I went further to say you have to look at the intersectionality of how many black people, and then they all interrupted me and I pushed through. I said, how many black men are mistaken when we use this system because someone thinks they look similar? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that to Indian people. But the fact is the unwillingness of them to even listen to what I was saying, because it's true and we know it's true. And I even said eyewitness accounts are the least reliable, and they know that because that's their language. Yet they're telling me the only way to get any kind of action from them is for me to say I'm 100% certain that it's this guy. And I came to them saying that I know the person who works there the most, the fruit vendor who works there the most often, so I was going to ask him if he knows who was working Saturday, and that way that could corroborate my story. But they're saying, oh, even with that, without you saying 100%, if the judge or the lawyer asks you 100%, are you sure this is them? And you say, no, I'm 95% sure, it's thrown out. So I ask, what is the point of having law in effect if it's not to work for you, if it's not to work with you, if it's not to find the ways that it can help the people who need it? They're like, oh, it happened last night, why didn't you report it? Right there, they need training. Do you know how many people are not emotionally, mentally, physically able to tell about an assault that happens in the moment? And it's completely unreasonable for someone to think that everyone is the same and that someone is capable of doing that. It was 10 o'clock at night. I am reliving trauma. I am stunned, and I don't even need to explain those feelings that I just did. You can report something whenever you want. And for one of the officers to say, oh, well, are you hurt? Like, were you hurt aside from, he just grabbed your boob? Do not use the word just. Do not use the words, are you hurt, any other way. Insensitive. And for 3 men and all to be speaking at me at the same time. I'm a strong person, but even that was overwhelming at one point, and I pushed through. But it's just not done well at all. This is why I wasn't even going to go through talking to officers in the first place. They just let me down and they made it worse. Because when you decide that you're going to do something, and then the people who are supposed to help you in any way don't, and when they react that way and they refuse to look at the intersectionality and all the layers that make things the way they are and make things harder, I don't know. What kind of justice system do we have? No one can be 100% sure. How am I supposed to give a description of someone after seeing them for the first time for 5 seconds? And when I said, no, I don't want, I want it to be on the record, I want a report, I don't necessarily want him in jail or anything, they were like, oh, well, that's not up to you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of that. But it's just like someone going to jail for years for grabbing my breast, obviously something needs to happen because he did that, but years for that. It's just so complicated, and it's just extremely disheartening to see how officers are. I put my faith in them before I went to do this, trying to trust, even though I know how things are. And to get this result, it's just really disheartening. And I feel for other people who have been in a similar situation and who get the same kind of treatment. You can't do anything because I say I'm not 100% certain. How disgusting for me to say I'm 100% certain because I'm hurt and I want someone else to be brought to justice when I can't really say I'm 100% certain, and then someone could be in jail for 20 years or whatever. There's so many people who are innocently in jail because someone was forced to say they're 100% something. Because then on my walk home, I'm like, oh, well, I could just go back to them and say, okay, I'm 100% certain because I want action. But then that's making me a dishonest person. So we really need to look at how our country is run, because you should not have to become dishonest, or I shouldn't have to feel coerced in myself to make something more true just to get results. And it was really, there was one more phrase I wanted to mention because it just came to my mind. So this is the white officer that said it, but after I mentioned, this was after I mentioned the intersectionality and like black men being mistaken and all that. And then he said, yeah, well, if you're not 100% certain, and we go over there and put handcuffs on a person, we only put handcuffs on a person if they're 100% certain and they get arrested. And then if you're not 100% certain, then we're making a victim, we're here to protect people, and we're making a victim out of them, just like you were made a victim. That was an extremely insensitive and gross sentence to say to someone. And I hate to be called a victim because I am not a victim of anything. I am a triumpher over sexual assault and rape. I am not a victim. So there's just a ton that was revealed to me in my 20-minute conversation with these 3 officers. And it's just a shame, that their approach was so combative in having a conversation with someone who is talking about something that's very painful and recent. And, I shook their hands because of who I am, and I thanked them. They're probably doing the best that they could do, but we can always do better. So, as of now, nothing is going to happen. I was assaulted, and that guy may probably do it again because officers weren't willing to work with me outside of what they believe is the best way to do things. And things are antiquated, and we really need to take a look at how our country's run because things aren't going great. So that's what it is, and God will lead me to the next course of action. I'm just going to use this pain, like many of us do, to create awareness and to hopefully encourage and strengthen others to speak up where they can.